Welcome back to my channel. For 18 seasons, we have been fed a perfectly polished illusion, a narrative so carefully manufactured that most viewers never even questioned it. We watched a little girl grow into a young woman on our screens, always quiet, always agreeable, always positioned as the good daughter, who stayed loyal while the rest of the family fractured. But what if I told you that this image, this golden, innocent, wholesome version of Aurora Brown was never real at all? What if it was a cage? A script? A survival strategy? Because according to multiple sources close to the Brown family, something happened last Tuesday at exactly 3 a.m. inside the McMansion on the hill. Something so explosive that it shook the walls and left the entire household spiraling. A packed bag, a disabled security camera, a screaming match that Robin tried desperately to hide. And today, we are peeling back every layer of the lie. This isn't just another sister-wives storyline. This isn't TLC drama. This is the real, unfiltered truth behind the golden cage of Aurora Brown, the side Kody and Robin never wanted you to see. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that like button. Not for me, for Aurora. Because after you hear what we uncovered, you'll understand exactly why she needs to be freed from the narrative Kody has forced onto her. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment #FreeAurora so the algorithm knows we are not looking away. Because this is the story that changes everything. The manufactured image of Aurora Brown. To understand why this alleged escape attempt matters, we need to deconstruct the character of Aurora as she was presented for over a decade. From the moment Robin entered the family, Aurora wasn't just a child, she was assigned a role. Whenever Robin cried, Aurora cried. Whenever Kody ranted, Aurora nodded. Whenever tension escalated, Aurora sat frozen, quiet, supportive, and sensitive. But go back and look at the early footage with a critical eye. The Flagstaff relocation discussions, the anthropology student visit, the therapy sessions, the infamous sensitivity scenes. What looked like loyalty suddenly looks like fear. Because according to an insider who has worked near production for years, Aurora's obedience wasn't natural. It was required. It was the only way to keep the peace inside what they call the Shira Chateau, the home where emotional manipulation became the default language. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Rethink the panic attacks. For years, viewers were told that Aurora's panic attacks were a medical condition, proof that she needed constant protection, constant supervision, constant dependence. But what if that was a narrative crafted by the adults around her? What if those panic attacks were not proof of fragility, but a symptom of captivity? Imagine growing up in a home where you are required to erase your biological father from your identity. Imagine being told that unless you call a completely new man dad, your mother might emotionally collapse. Imagine learning that your value is measured by how well you can mirror your mother's breakdowns or support a man who demands loyalty before love. That is not sensitivity. That is conditioning. And that is why last Tuesday's 3 a.m. incident is so important, because it suggests something more terrifying than the show ever dared to admit. Aurora may have finally tried to break free. What I'm about to tell you takes the story from disturbing to downright chilling. Because according to the insider who came forward, Aurora's anxiety isn't just medical. It isn't just inherited. It isn't just teenage sensitivity. It is environmental. It is engineered. It is the result of living under constant surveillance. Let's walk through this carefully. The surveillance system Robin doesn't want you to know about. Our source claims that Aurora is not allowed to have a normal phone. Not allowed to text freely. Not allowed to communicate without oversight. Her phone allegedly has tracking software so intense it mirrors what parents use for toddlers, not a grown woman in her 20s. We're talking 24/7 location tracking, full text message monitoring, app access, supervision, listening capability toggles. This isn't parental concern. This is not safety. This is surveillance. This is control. And it rewrites the entire narrative the show fed us for years. The narrative that Aurora just chooses not to hang out with Gwen, Garrison, Gabe, or any of the OG kids. According to the insider, that is the biggest lie of the series. Because Aurora didn't avoid them, she was kept away. The Step 4 Daughter Isolation Program. The insider alleges that Aurora has been isolated systematically, brick by brick, rule by rule, fear by fear. She was told repeatedly, "Your siblings don't like you. They resent you. They're dangerous. Only this house is safe." Imagine hearing that from the only adults you are conditioned to trust. Imagine being told the world hates you, and only your mother and Kody love you enough to protect you. That's how you manufacture obedience. That's how you create a Step 4 daughter. Polished, polite, controlled, terrified. But even perfect obedience cracks. And fans saw it. In recent specials, Aurora looked exhausted. Her smile was mechanical. Her face said fine, but her eyes? They were screaming. While Kody preached about loyalty and patriarchy, she sat completely frozen. That freeze response is not shyness, it is trauma. When you can't fight, when you can't flee, you freeze. You make yourself silent, invisible, compliant. It's the only way to survive. The document that shattered the illusion, but something changed. Something shifted Aurora from silent survival to active resistance. And according to this new theory, the inciting incident was an accident, a mistake made by Robin herself. Because weeks ago, Robin, known for her chaos, her piles of boxes, her disorganized paperwork, allegedly left a file folder out in her office. A folder Aurora was never supposed to see. It was labeled with legal terminology related to the Brown Family Trust Coyote Pass Property Division Asset Distribution. Aurora wasn't snooping, according to the source. She reportedly went in looking for something harmless, a charger, a craft supply, maybe a notebook. But what she found instead shattered her world. Inside the folder were not just deeds, not just documents, not just signatures. These were loyalty assessments. Yes, loyalty. Measured like currency. According to the theory, Kody's legal adoption of Aurora and her siblings wasn't just a symbol of love. It was a carefully calculated move to absorb any potential inheritance from their biological father, lock the children permanently into the Brown family financial structure, use them as leverage in the constant chess match against the other wives. And reading those documents, Aurora allegedly realized the truth. She wasn't a cherished daughter. She wasn't protected. She wasn't loved unconditionally. She was an asset, a number, a bargaining chip. A guaranteed caretaker for Kody and Robin in their old age. A pawn in a long-term financial plan. The realization that her entire life had been structured not for her safety, but for her containment, flipped a switch inside her. This is the part of the story where the temperature drops, where the tension becomes suffocating, where the golden cage stops being a metaphor and becomes a prison of flesh, fear, and blood. Because once Aurora realized the truth, that she was not being protected, she was being owned. The panic of the outside world that Robin had drilled into her for years suddenly meant nothing. The bigger terror was staying. Staying forever. Staying trapped. Staying obedient until she was old, drained, and hollow. That fear lit the match. That fear killed the Step 4 daughter. And in her place, an escape artist was born. But escaping a house like that? A house filled with emotional landmines, surveillance, alarms, and a patriarch who demands absolute loyalty? You don't walk out casually. You plan like you're fleeing a dictatorship. The 3-week plan that proves Aurora is not weak. She is strategic according to the insider theory. Aurora didn't act impulsively. She spent 3 weeks building her escape piece by piece. Quietly. Carefully. Desperately. And the first step of her plan? A burner phone. She allegedly acquired it by trading the only savings she had, cash from birthdays, holidays, and gifts, to a delivery driver or a friend she met during one of her rare monitored outings. That secret phone became her first taste of freedom. And here's where the story gets explosive. Who is she texting? According to the whispers, it wasn't a friend. It wasn't a stranger. She reached out to the one person who had successfully defected and never looked back. Paid on. Or, and this theory shakes the entire fandom, she reached straight for the mother of liberation herself, Kody Brown. Imagine the tension. Imagine Aurora sitting at the dinner table while Kody rants, phones, and blames Christine for destroying the family, all while Aurora is literally texting Christine for help under the table. That is not rebellion. That is courage. The smuggling operation next came the phase that feels like something out of a thriller movie. Aurora couldn't pack suitcases. Suitcases would set off alarm bells, literally and emotionally. Suitcases are movement. Suitcases are escape. So she got creative. The insider claims Aurora volunteered to help organize the clutter in the house, a chore Robin usually forbids because her chaos is part of her identity. But Aurora played the part. She smiled. She nodded. She acted helpful and obedient. Then she started filling black trash bags. Half the bag was real trash or Goodwill donations to keep it believable. But the bottom? Hidden beneath broken toys and unwanted clothes? Her journals, her childhood photos, her biological family, keepsakes, her documents, her favorite outfits, the personal items she was never supposed to take, she smuggled her life out one trash bag at a time. She placed them in the garage near the donations pile, quietly building a new identity in secret. This isn't the behavior of a happy daughter. This is the behavior of someone surviving a hostile environment. The plan was chilling in its simplicity. A car would meet her at the end of the long Coyote Pass driveway at 3:15 a.m. She just needed to make it out of the house. Down the stairs. Past the alarm panel. Through the night air. All without waking the sleeping dragons. And then chaos. Because the security system in that house isn't just locks. It's people. It's watchers. It's enforcers. And the betrayal didn't come from Kody. It didn't come from Robin. It came from someone Aurora trusted. Someone with shared blood. A Shakespearean twist. The night of the escape, the insider describes the atmosphere like a horror film. Flagstaff was caught in a cold desert storm. Rain hammered the windows. Wind howled against the expensive cabin walls. Perfect sound cover for a runaway. Kody was reportedly agitated that evening, pacing, muttering about respect and betrayal, convinced the world was turning against him. He went to bed angry. Robin went to bed anxious, her normal state. Aurora waited. She watched the clock. She listened for movement. She waited for every light to snap off. She waited until the only illumination was the cold glow of the alarm panel LEDs. And then, she moved. What I'm about to rewrite for you is the turning point. The moment the carefully controlled facade shatters and Aurora Brown decides she is done being the obedient daughter in the golden cage. Here is your long, dramatic, cinematic rewrite, expanded for maximum tension and emotional impact. She had studied the escape like a soldier preparing for a nighttime extraction. Aurora knew the code to the alarm. She knew which cameras glitched, which corners were blind, which shadows were deep enough to swallow her whole. This was her home and her prison. And after years of living under surveillance, she knew every single weakness in its walls. She slipped into dark clothing, the kind that wouldn't reflect light. Not a hoodie. Not pajamas. Clothes chosen for one purpose, to disappear. Clutched in her hand was the final bag. The one she had guarded like oxygen. Inside it, the burner phone, her ID, and the last pieces of her real identity, the one that existed before Kody rewrote her history. She moved quietly, descending the stairs with a precision that comes only from years of memorizing which steps creak, which wood slats betray you, and which ones can hold a secret. She reached the mudroom, the threshold between captivity and freedom. Outside, cold rain hammered the windows and sheets, turning the night into a curtain of noise. Just 50 feet stood between Aurora and the outside world. Down the long driveway, hidden in darkness, a car sat idling.
No headlights.
No movement. Just waiting. Rumors say the driver was someone connected to the OG kids, someone who wanted her free. Aurora placed her hand on the metal door handle. It was cold. It was real. This was happening. Her heart must have been slamming against her ribs so loudly she feared it would wake the whole house. Another second, and she would have been outside. Another 5 steps, and she'd be running. Another 30 seconds, and she'd be gone. And then the light snapped on. Not outside. Inside. The hallway lights flooded the staircase with a harsh, sudden glow. Aurora froze. But the figure at the top of the stairs wasn't Kody. It wasn't Robin. It was Brianna. And she wasn't half asleep.
She wasn't confused.
She wasn't whispering, "Are you okay?" No. She was awake, alert, holding her phone, and the screen showed she had already dialed. The betrayal of a sister hits deeper than any parental control. It cuts down to the bone. Maybe she was terrified. Maybe she was indoctrinated. Maybe she thought she was saving the family.
But she didn't ask.
She didn't think. She didn't hesitate. She screamed. A sharp, piercing cry. "Mom, she's leaving. Aurora's trying to leave." The peaceful silence of the night shattered like glass. What happened next is exactly what the alleged leaked audio picks up. Not a conversation, not a calm intervention. An interception. A takedown. A capture. Robin flew down the stairs in seconds, faster than the cameras have ever shown her move.
No tears.
No trembling voice. Just a woman blocking the door, like it was her oxygen supply. Kody barreled in moments later. And what the neighbors heard wasn't the Kody we've seen arguing on TV. It wasn't the dramatic, performative rage from confessionals. This was different. This was the rage of a man who believed he had full control over someone and suddenly learned he didn't. For the first time in her life, Aurora didn't fold. She didn't shrink. She didn't allow her fear to swallow her voice. And this is why this moment matters. Because according to those who heard the storm-muffled screaming and the alleged transcript, Aurora pushed back. When Kody shouted that she was being disloyal, that she was acting like a poisoned child, that she was betraying the family, Aurora yelled something that cracked open the entire narrative of the last decade. 3 words. 3 words that weren't rebellion, they were confession. "I am drowning." And in that moment, everything changed. The standoff didn't break, it mutated. What began in the mudroom, with whispered threats and trembling breaths, spilled out into the open air like a storm finally snapping its leash. Aurora bolted. She didn't walk, didn't hesitate. She lunged for the door with the kind of desperate strength only someone who feels cornered can summon. The moment the lock clicked open, a gust of freezing night air burst into the house, carrying the metallic scent of rain and the heavy thrum of a storm rolling in. And then she ran, barefoot,
Crying. Gasping.
her hair plastered to her face, her arms cutting through the rain as she sprinted across the driveway. She was halfway to the road, halfway to freedom. Down the street, the waiting car's headlights flickered as the driver leaned forward, eyes wide. They saw her. They saw everything. You can almost picture their hand gripping the steering wheel, whispering, come on, almost there." But they didn't account for Kody. No one ever really does. He didn't chase her on foot. He didn't shout her name. He did something far more calculated, far more familiar to those who've watched his patterns for years. He outmaneuvered her. In a blur of movement, he jumped into his massive white truck, the one viewers know as part of his personal armor, and slammed his foot on the accelerator. Tires screeched against wet pavement. The engine roared like a warning. In seconds, he spun the vehicle around, fishtailing out of the garage with a precision that showed this wasn't panic. It was strategy. He swerved sideways, planting the truck across the driveway like a barricade. A wall of steel and headlights. A cage. Aurora froze, blinded by the beams, trapped between the house that controlled her and the father who cornered her. Down the road, the driver watched helplessly, unable to approach without trespassing, without hitting Kody's truck, without risking a legal confrontation Kody would weaponize without hesitation. All they could do was sit in the rain, watching the escape die in real time. Then came Robin. She burst out of the house, mascara running, soaked instantly by the storm. But she didn't wrap Aurora in a hug, not even close. She grabbed her daughter's arm like she was pulling back a runaway hostage. And the audio is what haunts people. Robin sobbing, trembling, voice cracking as she cried. "They want to destroy you. They're trying to steal you to hurt us. Not. We love you. We can talk. You're safe."
No.
This was psychological warfare disguised as maternal panic. Robin wasn't protecting her. She was claiming her, dragging her back toward the house, toward control, toward the narrative she and Kody had built like a fortress around their children. The door slammed shut behind them, heavy and final. The lock clicked. The driver waited 10 agonizing minutes in the rain, hoping, praying, she'd reappear. She never did. The escape attempt was over. But the aftermath is where the real horror starts. Because they didn't let her collapse into bed. They didn't give her space. They didn't show concern. They sat her down at the kitchen table at 4 a.m. Cold.
Vet.
Shaking. And what followed wasn't a family conversation. It was a financial interrogation. This is where the insider information gets truly dark. This is the part people don't understand when they ask, why doesn't Aurora try again? Why is she posting happy pictures? According to the theory, the answer is simple and devastating. Financial blackmail. Kody and Robin allegedly pulled out paperwork, actual printed paperwork. They listed every expense she'd incurred since turning 18. Rent.
Food.
Utilities. Insurance. Phone bills. Transportation. Every dollar. Every cent. They tallied it up. And the number was staggering. Tens of thousands of dollars. Then they delivered the final blow. If she leaves, if she walks out that door, they will sue her. They told her she would owe them all of it. They told her they would ruin her credit before she even had a chance to build her life. They told her that leaving meant financial annihilation. They used the legal system, the same system Kody claims is biased against polygamists, as a weapon against his own daughter. To make sure she stayed. To make sure she didn't try again. And to twist the knife even deeper, they told her the person waiting in that car wasn't a rescuer. It was a vulture. Someone who wanted to exploit her, use her, ruin her. They just want you for a tell-all, they said. They want to hurt us through you. And that's how control is built. Not through chains, but through fear, debt, obligation, and the belief that the world outside your door wants to chew you up and spit you out. It wasn't just an escape attempt. It was a warning she will never forget. What happened after that failed escape was not a consequence, it was a full psychological siege. Because the story didn't end in the driveway. It didn't end when the rain soaked Aurora's hair flat against her face, or when Robin dragged her back inside like a mother rescuing a child from an oncoming storm. No. That night became the blueprint for the Brown family's most disturbing chapter yet. Once that heavy wooden door slammed shut, once the lock clicked with that unmistakable finality, Aurora wasn't escorted upstairs. She wasn't given a lecture. She wasn't even given a minute to breathe. She was marched straight to the kitchen. 4 a.m. The storm still raging outside. The fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like interrogation lamps. A house that had once looked like a home now felt like a bunker. And then it began. Kody came in first. Not pacing, not shouting, but cold. Cold in a way we have never seen on camera. His face wasn't twisted in anger, it was carved from stone. He didn't sit beside her. He sat across from her. That's what commanders do at war tables. Then came the binder.
Yes.
A binder. Because no one weaponizes paperwork like Kody Brown. He slapped it on the table with the confidence of a man who had been rehearsing this moment long before Aurora ever reached for that door handle. Inside, a ledger. A ledger that allegedly tracked every dollar he claimed Aurora owed him.
Rent.
Utilities. Groceries. Insurance for the car she never got to drive. Phone plans he controlled. Gas for errands she ran for Robin. Line after line after line. A decade of parenting, repackaged into an invoice. The total was obscene. A number large enough to terrify someone twice her age, let alone a young woman who had never been allowed to have financial independence.
$40,000.
A mythical debt. A fabricated noose. And Kody didn't soften it. Didn't cushion it. Didn't say he'd help. He weaponized it. You want to leave? He allegedly said, flipping the binder around so she could see the sum. Then you take this with you. Every cent. Or I'll take you to court. I'll garnish your wages. I'll get you blacklisted financially. Before your life even starts. That's not discipline. That's not parenting. That is financial hostage-taking. And while Kody targeted her security, Robin targeted her soul. Robin, eyes red, voice trembling, leaned in just close enough to blur the line between comfort and coercion. She didn't say, "Stay. We love you."
No.
She whispered, "The world will chew you up. They're trying to steal you to hurt us. Those kids don't love you. They want to use you. If you go, you're handing them a knife to stab your mother." It was surgical. Kody attacked her future. Robin attacked her identity. Two angles. One goal, break her. And it worked. Aurora, still shaking from the rain, still shivering from the shock of what had just happened outside, folded. Not because she believed them, because she was outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and cornered emotionally, physically, financially. The burner phone was surrendered. The trash bags of clothing, the ones packed in the garage, were returned to their hiding spots. And just like that, freedom slipped through her fingers. But the most heartbreaking part of this story is not the failed escape. It's the reason it failed. Brianna. The internet has turned her into a villain, labeling her Robin 2.0, calling her the household informant. But the truth? The truth is darker and more tragic. Brianna didn't scream because she hated Aurora. She screamed because she was terrified of being left behind in that house alone. In families ruled by control, love isn't shared, it's rationed. Leaving isn't just rebellion, it's betrayal. Because the one who escapes condemns the one who stays. Her scream, "Mom, she's leaving," was the sound of a frightened child watching her only emotional shield walk out the door. A prisoner's cry as their cellmate tries to tunnel out. Sibling versus sibling. A divide-and-conquer system that has worked for Kody and Robin for years. And now we get to the part that changes everything. The secret meeting. The moment that lit the fuse that led to the 3 a.m. escape. 4 days earlier. A glitch in the tracking software. Maybe real. Maybe intentional. A quiet campus cafe. Aurora, sitting alone, hands shaking around a cup of tea. And then he walked in. Kody Brown. The last person Kody would ever allow near the golden child. Witnesses said the meeting was short. Not warm. Not emotional. Tactical. Kody didn't come to reminisce. He came to deliver truth. He told her the family money was gone. That the OG wives weren't abandoning the lifestyle, they were escaping financial exploitation. He showed her receipts.
Math.
Numbers that contradicted everything Robin had ever told her. And then he told her the sentence that shattered a decade of conditioning. You don't owe them your life. They owe you a childhood. Those words didn't just crack the spell, they obliterated it. Aurora walked out of that cafe with a burner phone taped to her leg and a new consciousness burning in her chest. She went home. She smiled at Robin. She played obedient daughter at dinner. And she started packing trash bags. A spy behind enemy lines. The failed escape was not impulsive. It was the climax of a rebellion. And now comes the most explosive twist. The audio. Because someone recorded the confrontation. It wasn't a neighbor. The audio is too clear. Too close. Too crisp. The theory is simple. Aurora didn't surrender everything. She gave up the phone but not the recording. Whether it was a smartwatch, a hidden mic, or a device Kody slipped her, she might still have it. And if she does, it is the smoking gun. A legal weapon. A path to emancipation. A shield against Kody's fabricated debt.